Anybody who follows this channel, you guys know I do unplanned live streams, and I'm not going to be on very long because I got to get on with the business of wrapping up this Friday. But you look at Satan's world, and you're just like, for me as a person of faith, I look at Satan's world, and it's like everything that was outlined in Bible prophecy, all of the observations of people of old, whether they were apostles or prophets, you know, you see these cycles of mankind play out. And, when you understand that there's nothing new under the sun, then you start to kind of look at these things like with a broader scope. So you have the rapper Cardi B, right? Now she's kind of been accused of, leveraging her marriage and having babies as a way to promote new projects or albums. And, obviously there's all kinds of, tactics behind that, right? Most of the times when a woman is pregnant, you look at her as being more vulnerable, right? You see her as more human, right? But, the way that Cardi B has sort of exploited pregnancy has made it almost disgusting. Like there's almost a disgusting end of pregnancy that I think is worth exploring, right? So I'm not sure if people are familiar with the idea of trapping people, right? And trapping is, old school term, is when you have an individual, you have people in a relationship. One person wants the relationship more than the other. One person wants to make sure that they maintain the other person in the relationship. And a lot of times people will look at women as being, people who trap, them in the relationship, but it's actually both men and women who can be trappers. And trappers are really individuals that leverage pregnancy as a way to maintain a connection with another person, right? So if you feel like, if one person in the relationship feels like there may be some instability, there may be some volatility in the relationship, they may make a conscious effort to make sure that pregnancy becomes in that dynamic. What's going on, bro? I see you, Dill. But we got to talk about these trapping ass people in society, right? Because they're creating babies with self-centeredness at the core of what they're doing, right? And a lot of times, for the most part, people who engage in trapping, they are not necessarily in a position to be a full-blown committed financial emotional parent to a child, because the whole intent in having the child was to entrap somebody else, right? And you may know somebody, or you yourself might have been, may have been a victim, or may be a victim of trapping, when somebody intentionally tries to get pregnant or get somebody else pregnant because they want to make sure that that person stays around in their life, forever, right? And I'm looking at Cardi B, and I'm looking at a lot of women on the internet, right? A lot of black women, and on this channel I talk to everybody, but sometimes I get very specific to my own people, and I see a lot of black women celebrating Cardi, celebrating her pregnancy with her boyfriend. That her boyfriend, even though I'm not sure she completely divorced now, but this is a boyfriend that she acquired when she was still married. And I'm not talking about Offset right now. So for all the feminist warriors out there that want to kind of make sure we put the blame on men, I'm not talking about Offset right now, because Offset doesn't have a vagina. Offset can't carry kids, right? He can create them, but he cannot carry them, right? I'm talking about the women who are out here appearing to trap men so that they can either keep them or even prove a point to another man. I look at Cardi B, And I look at somebody who is highly irresponsible. Let's take away the money that this woman has. She's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and she's definitely not the best example for women. She's not an example of women empowerment. I look at her as a harlot. I look at her as a double talking demon. And anytime she wants, like, most times she's talking like a evil ass nigga bitch, right? But when she needs to sell albums, then all of a sudden she wants to go on into this vulnerability side where she is, I'm pregnant, I'm a woman, I'm emotional, I'm this, I'm that, right? But at the core of this woman, where she's on Gail King, yes, I'm having a baby with my boyfriend, my man, we're very happy. It's like you did not upgrade. And when you look at Offset's Joe Budden interview, he was absolutely right. At the end of the day, no matter what you think about Offset, he was right. He said he never saw a woman that left him upgrade, do better. And it doesn't sometimes mean, how much money the dude have. A lot of these women are running on just money. How much money you gotta do? You're not looking at the character of this man. You ain't looking at his commitment levels. You ain't looking at nothing but his money. So everybody's like, well, she did upgrade Offset because Stefan Diggs had more money, whatever, whoop de whoop, than Offset. But at the same time, Stefan Diggs comes with just as much baggage as Offset. This man has multiple baby mamas. You have a lot of these men like Stefan Diggs, Future, Nick Cannon. Some of these dudes, they have this mindset, that they are lions and they need a pride of women and children, right? And yes, these men may be in a position to take care of all those liabilities, right? But some men are in that mindset. So I don't feel like Cardi B necessarily upgraded her husband. If anything, to me, she kind of put herself in the same damn position, because there's no way you're going to tell me you about to be happy forever with a man that has multiple baby mamas and all of y'all kids are going to be pretty much around the same age. Like I don't understand this. And they got women. I keep seeing these collages on Facebook, where these women are showing, Tiana Taylor and Cardi B, and then they had Cash Doll. Now Cash Doll was the first one X off the meme, right? Because her and her man ain't together anymore, right? So they got women thinking that you can do better, leave him and do better, right? And a lot of, emotionally, intellectually vulnerable women, right, they feed into these memes. They whole fucking life is a meme, right? You ever see somebody on your social media platform and all they're posting is memes, right? That's like their therapy, that's like their validation, but they still don't even act in accordance with the psychology of the meme, right? There's a lot of women like that. So they're looking at, these, women, these industry women, right, and their relationships, right, and then they're kind of thinking like, okay, you know they left their old men, right, and they were able to upgrade, and now you see all these photo ops of them and their man on blah blah blah. Then next thing you know, they're not with these men anymore. So I think that, at the end of the day, women celebrating Cardi B being pregnant by her boyfriend, right, adding to the, out of wedlock marriage statistics in the black community, right? These type of behaviors, these type of mindsets, these type of celebrations, they don't look good for our community. And these are the things that black people really should be conscious of always calling out, is these little psyops in our community that are constantly perpetuating bad behaviors that our youth are buying into as being normalized because it's being perpetuated and projected to them so much. And then you have these, double talking demons on all these platforms being glorified. So everything that they do and represent seems to be normalized. So now we got these cycles of trapping ass women and men creating babies that they are not trying to take care of collaboratively. And I think that it's also disgusting for us to be glorifying this woman. I worked all the way up until I had my children. I was working all the way up until I had my children, but I was not doing rigorous performing. I was not in a high travel job. I was not moving all around, right? I had an office job where I could go to work, and if I had those sick days I could work from home, right? But I had a pretty normal job for a mother where I could balance my health care, and my career, right? But when you're in a certain situation where you're doing certain, you're constantly in motion and you're pregnant, that's not something that we should be glorifying. Women should be able to be pregnant and just be pregnant, and they shouldn't be just feeling compelled to have to go extra hard during those 9 months, and even beyond, of vulnerability. I don't even want that to be normalized, that women just feel like they just got to go all just super duper hard until they have the baby. It's like, no, you need to rest. That is a change in your body that requires for you to get a lot of rest, you know so I pray for everybody. But our sisters need to stop celebrating this woman. We really need to stop celebrating this woman and what she got going on. I mean, and again, we know that this is because of her. She's trying to sell her album, she's trying to promote her album. But at the same time, this woman, she's not a good example. And I think for the Black community, if we have not already, we really need to start, evaluating our alliances, to some of these people who are tethering on to our culture, and they are doing nothing but projecting patterns of bad behaviors to our next generation youth. I feel sorry for the young women who buy into this baby daddy, baby mama culture. It's very toxic for the individual, and it's toxic for the children to have to deal with these people. You look at these videos online of these custody exchanges with kids, and you got the one parent that's all radicalized. Most of the times it's the mother, it's the one that carried the child. She's acting all irrational because, as opposed to her being this unit with the baby and the baby's father was like, no, I wasn't even trying to do all this with you. I didn't want this kid. You forced me to have this kid by having this kid, right? All the while, neither one of them are accountable for the fact that they've been laying up with each other, raw dogging each other, devoid of the consequences that these actions will lead to having a child. And then they make it convenient for these young women. They even create songs for these women about plan Bs and killing the child. So it's like so much. And then these women will swear that they are God's children. My God loves me. You're killing babies. You're being reckless, and then you're killing your babies. And then you're talking about God. Like, a lot of these women don't realize that your God is the devil. Your God is the devil. Anyone sitting up here just celebrating Cardi, that's my girl, that's my girl. This woman is, to me, a double talking demon. And this is just my opinion of Cardi B. She's a satanic psyop. And her only mission. And here's the thing about Cardi too, is I listened to her mixtape. I actually liked her mixtape better than any of the albums that she put out. Right? But the mixtape is always going to be the rawest that you're ever going to get of an artist before the industry starts molding them into these slut rappers, right? So when you listen to Cardi B's mixtape, it's actually the better of her music because it's not promoting the slut rap. It's really just her organic experiences at that time. And I tell people all the time, the best you're ever going to get an artist is when they were underground. Because once the industry gets their clutches on them, they're going to mold these people to fit some MK Ultra narrative and projection onto targeted demographics in this country, right? Because they're trying to promote cycles of bad behavior. That's what these people, a lot of these psyop type of people are really there for, right? Drill rappers are to reinforce the Call of Duty, go beyond the game, and actually kill human beings cultures among young boys. Cardi B, slut rap, this is enabling those next generation girls to feel like it's normalized to be baby mamas and not really have a high value of self, not develop self. You're not going to develop yourself into a woman that would be desirable to a man beyond ass shots, weaves, and all kinds of other things, right? So these women are not being programmed to actually be good women, substantial women to men. They are being trained to be harlots. And they use people like Cardi B to accomplish that. So, ladies, can we not celebrate this shit? Because regardless of what people think, yeah, everybody has a choice, but this shit is really detrimental to the community. It is. Modern slut and violent rap, we really just need to just reject that shit. Like, don't let it sell. And honestly, it's not even coming from our people, even though our people are facing it. A lot of these people, I was just having this conversation with my brother. You look at a lot of these drill rappers talking about this violence and gang violence stuff. A lot of these dudes are talking about their experiences, which what makes it bad is that they can't articulate their experience as an experience. They have to articulate their experience as glorification, as something that makes them look tough and men. When you look at a lot of these young men who are being killed on the street, they're beta men. They have lots of bitch like behaviors because most of them were raised by women. And this is why people get mad all the time when I say this, but it's like women can only raise good guys at best. They cannot raise men. You need men in the equation to get a firmly affirmed man. I'm talking about a den of men like elders and father and uncles, and those type of men formulate and form men. Most guys who were exposed dominantly to their uncles, their fathers and stuff, they are more masculine. They're able to think with more reason. But when you take men who were been dominantly raised by women, they're a lot more feminine than some of them would like to admit. I don't care if you go to the gym and get some muscles, you still a bitch at heart. No stab to you, but you are. Especially if your dominant influence was a female. That's why me, as a mother of a son, I love my son. I really don't want him to get hurt. But I understand that I can't over baby him. I understand that men operate with a different level of risk adversity than women do. And if I keep over coddling, if I try to over coddle my son, he's going to be scary. He's going to be afraid. And the core of men, they are hunters and gatherers. Whether a lot of them understand that or not, intrinsically, men are hunters and gatherers. That is why they tend to operate, most of them, if they were raised right, with a lower risk adversity than women, right? But women have been reprogrammed too. So you have a lot of women who are operating with very low risk adversity as well. But I just say, the body is a temple. Pregnancy is sacred. It is beautiful. Motherhood is sacred. It is beautiful. And look at how the devil is defiling it with this Cardi B chick. Look at how the devil is going to take anything sacred and just defile it and normalize that defiling as something cute, right? So beware if you are in a relationship and you're not really just 100% on it, right? When you see somebody trying to get you drunk so that they can get you in bed so you can lose your sense of control, a lot of times you're dealing with a trapper. And I'm not saying that Cardi B is trapping Stefan Diggs, right? I'm just saying that she was probably more interested in having a baby with him than he was interested in having a baby with her. I'm pretty sure if I could think of what Stefan was possibly thinking, it was more so like, and here's the thing, he could have wanted a baby with Cardi B because she's wealthy as well. And again, you got to think about the minds of people who trap other people. There's got to be a benefit or a gain. That's why you see a lot of women when they're with these wealthy men, they're trying their best to get pregnant by these guys so that they can hedge their future income with that wealthy man, right? So it's a whole lot of trapping. Sometimes you'll get a man, he'll be with a beautiful woman. Maybe she's put together, she has a good future, good head on her, right? And he's not sure if he can retain her. So he may make an effort to intentionally try to get her pregnant so that even if she leaves him for whatever reason, right, he still has to have access to her vicariously through the child. So there's a whole lot of reasons why people trap. If you are a victim of trapping, sorry to you. Hopefully that led you to be more conscious about future behaviors. But some people never learn. But let me get to my comments, and then I got to get off of here. Oh yeah. So let me go over here real quick, and good morning to everybody. If you're getting ready for your morning hustle, good morning to you. All right, let me go here, and I muted myself so I can see my comments. All right, what's going on, Diamond Adams? I see you. Diamond probably tired of these people just degrading and defiling the Black community with these messy ass face fronts. And I don't even really attribute Cardi B as being a part of the Black community. She is a part of the immigrant community. So she's not really, she's a tether to our culture at best. All right. And that's just what it is. Right. If you're not a foundational American descendant of slaves, right, you're coming into these cultures that we created on this land, right? You become a tether to our culture. And we were just talking about this the other day, that a lot of these non-FBA people, right, they cannot solidify themselves in these industries without brown, deeply melanated Black people from America. From America. Okay? And if we don't like you, you're not going to sell. And that I keep telling Black people, we got more power than we like to admit, right? Because we all focus on that weird stuff from of old. But there's modern day realities that Black people still have not come to. And again, even if we're a segment of this population, we are still a segment of this population. And lots of us are working segments. We pay taxes, right? We make income, we make buying decisions, right? And the empowerment of real Black American peoples, is beyond what we can buy. It's also what we can stop from selling, right? And so when we get these volatile forces, these demonic forces that are perpetuating negative cycles of behaviors in our community, like a Cardi B or any of these other blackface industry props that are promoting negative behaviors to our youth, right? We have a choice not to let it sell. And yes, we want to see our brothers and sisters successful, but we don't want to see our brothers and sisters successful at the detriment of the overall community and our future generations. Okay? And that's just word 100. I'm not hating on anybody. I don't desire to be an industry harlot. But I can look at what these industry harlots are promoting in my community, perpetuating in my community, and I can say, that's disgusting. My people really shouldn't let shit like that sell. We shouldn't engage in shit like that. We should leave it to the supremacists that fund it. Let their people entertain it. Let their people talk about it and commentate on it. It's their people's money anyways. That money is a means to an end to perpetuate negativity in my community. And the more conscious we are of these things, the more we say, you know what, I'm not buying into that bullshit. The more progress we can see. Every little thing helps, right? Every little bit hurts. Not hurt, but helps. But we can't keep letting these people, perpetuate our communities with these psyops. And then you get a blackface like Gayle King that's interviewing this psyop, right? And they're normalizing dysfunction in a form of celebration. This woman is pregnant with her fourth child with her boyfriend who has kids that are very new to this world as well. So, to end this live stream, whether you agree with me or not, Offset was right. And this is the true story for a lot of women. You may not like your man, you may not love your man, but typically, when the woman decides to end their marriage, when the woman decides to go rogue, when a woman decides to start doing what the man does, right? She doesn't end up on top. She doesn't end up better than him. Even if she has more money than him, she doesn't end up on top because it's a psychological, to me, damage, implications of these actions, right? So Offset was right. She didn't upgrade and she's never going to upgrade. And this is true for a lot of women who buy into these mindsets that the grass is greener on the other side, right? These social media women have conditioned you into believing that you look good, girl. You look better than that man that you're with. You can go out and get a better man. And a lot of these women are buying into these mindsets and these cultures. And at the end of the day, 2, 3 years, 5 years down the line, they are miserable. They are single. And now that shadow of a thought of, I wish I wouldn't have left my marriage. I wish I wouldn't have dissolved my marriage comes popping in. And I'm not saying that Cardi B should not have left Offset, because the man obviously played in a woman's face. Infidelity, according to DJ Academics, he has had, like, he might have slept with not hundreds, but possibly thousands, if I heard that correctly, of other women on her. But at the same time, Cardi B is always that person who talks about her lick back. So I'm pretty sure that he wasn't just cheating on her that whole time and she wasn't cheating back, right? She just didn't get pregnant until now because she wants to show Offset that I'm very much moved on from you. Look, I got my new man and we're about to have a new baby. So ha ha ha. And Offset probably looking like, just pay me my alimony. You know what I mean? Just pay me my alimony, okay? And now that you got your new baby and it's out there to the world, I believe state of Georgia, right? Offset's about to be okay, you guys. Offset will be okay. And I'm not lobbying for the brother. I think that he needs to learn how to treat women better. And these men who treat women like they do, they run around with this slut hoe mentality about themselves, right? You got daughters, my dude. You got daughters. You got daughters. And sometimes you curse your daughters by your own behaviors. So just like you can bring yourself to treat somebody else's child the way that you do, just remember there's somebody, your daughter's going to grow up and she might be the new hoe or thought. Just think about that, Anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. We made it, y'all. Happy Friday, TGIF. All praises to the God in heaven, Yahuwah, and our King, Yahusha or Yeshua. Love your neighbors as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbor. Bye.